Today on the KeithAndrewNetWork, we have an upcoming professional voiceover actor. He's been on Disney. He works as Funimation, one of my favorite companies. Do a little plug for them. Now, with that being said, for people who want to know what is the KeithAndrewNetWork, whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So prove to them it can still amount to something. So hashtag break the label. We're going to take a quick commercial break. The following is brought to you by Anime Adventures and by Disabilities. Disabilities do not define who you are and who you're going to be. So hashtag break the labels. When we come back, big surprise, who's going to be on the KeithAndrewNetWork? Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Corda. I'm a voice actor, and I was just in, wow. Take two. Hi, my name is Nicholas Corda. I'm a voice actor, and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew.
So the first question I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you do now.
So I've been an actor since I was about 14, so a while now. I'm in my late 20s. And I, most of my background, it used to be in theater, but then once I got into voiceover, I kind of shifted into doing that. I was actually doing so not first thing, but I was doing this VO gig for like a graduate thesis film, and a friend of mine recommended a class, and then I took the class, and that was kind of, the rest is history. So yeah, now I'm a voice actor. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I should make that a hashtag. I keep saying that. Absolutely. Hashtag absolutely.
Hashtag absolutely.
But you do bring up a good point, and I'm staring at the air conditioner right behind you. I always wonder, why do people have air conditioners in the middle of the winter? So I'm going to ask you, what's up with that?
So it's funny. So for this, my apartment doesn't have as much storage as I would like, so I just kind of leave it in the window. Also, my booth is right here, and it can be a little tricky to get it, like, because the door, it's right next to the door, so there's a very narrow space, so it's a little tricky to get it, shimmy it through the door. So I just kind of leave it in there, and I never have it on. I just, plug it in, and that way I don't have to, put it in and take it out and what have you. But that's a good question, actually. That's really funny.
That's funny because I always see it and I'm like, why not just see it? You see the obvious, might as well point it out. Exactly. But the other one I want to ask you is, what did you major in, and how did that dictate being a voiceover?
Totally. So I majored in drama. I was going to be a medieval Renaissance studies double major, but there was too many courses to take, and I had to, I just was focused on all the shows that I was in. So yeah, so basically I was just a drama major, I was an actor, and that's kind of just helped me in this, be an actor, because voice acting is acting, obviously. So.
That's true. Hey, if you have the heart and passion for it, that's half the battle. I'm speaking from experience. Never do anything half-ass, because one, you're wasting your time, you're wasting everyone else's. And for me, you have the first 10 seconds to make and last an impression on somebody. A lot of people, like, when they see you, they want to feel the energy, but you have the first, what would you say, first 5 seconds, first 10 seconds? What is the correct term?
Yeah, I think first 10 seconds, I would give it a couple minutes, but that's just me. First 10 seconds is generally like the saying, the classic saying, for sure. And I totally agree with you about not ever doing anything, half-assed. It's important to, put your all, give your 100%. So absolutely.
Now, I'm just looking at a couple of your profiles on LinkedIn. A couple of things I want very interested in talking to you about. First one is you were on Pokémon.
Yes. That was actually, funnily enough, the first anime that I was in, and really like the first big VO gig that I was in. So that kind of was a very cool first show to, be a part of, just because, childhood dream of, I feel like everyone, at least in voiceover, to be in Pokemon, because we all grew up with it. And I mean, it is the highest grossing franchise in the world, and for a reason. So, yeah.
Well, for me, I would say Dragon Ball, hands down.
Oh, yeah.
I always talk about, if I died, do I want to do my life over? Debating about that. But I really want to be part of the Dragon Ball universe, because I know so much.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I mean, it's classic, so yeah, 100%.
And it's funny because so many cartoons, has referenced it, has made jokes about it. Pokemon copied it, Sonic, he copies it, Mario. So it actually, in the music, it's absolutely amazing. I want him on the show. I keep talking to Bruce Falconer on the show, and he says to me, "Isn't your show about disabilities?" No, yes, it's shows about disabilities, but by being on the show, you're supporting someone with disabilities. So, nice guy, love his music, absolutely goes with everything. Godzilla, Superman, Batman. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you can fix the right tracks, you'd be surprised. And it's culture-wise, people in professional wrestling. One of the wrestlers, drawing a blank on his name. Oh, Keith Lee. Keith Lee, his finisher is like the power bomb. So and I talk with my hands, I apologize. But
no. I do too, I'm Italian, so.
So his move is the spirit bomb. I was like, that's so freaking cool. And the New Day, Xavier Woods has a tattoo on his right arm. I think it's his right arm of like King Kai's symbol. So it's funny. And even in, did you see, I'm going to butcher this name. That's why I was telling you off the air. I butcher names. Sin City, the Marvel movie, Sin City.
Sin City, yeah.
No, not Sin City.
Shang-Chi?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
In one scene, he's actually wearing Goku's colors.
Oh, yes. Yes, you're right. Yes, that's really funny. Yes.
But I didn't mean to ramble on. I do apologize.
No, please. No, music I think is very important also in terms of like activating drama and certain types of writing as well. I don't know if you've seen that video. There's this really great video of like Star Wars without the music, and it's it's like good, but it's still like very telling, like how much John Williams' score completes it. It's really cool to see, just because he's a legend, and but yeah, I totally agree with you on that, 100%.
No, absolutely. And now the other one I asked is, you were part of the let's see, what is it? The Lego group. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, yes. So I have done some commercials for Lego. I have been in a mobile game for them called Lego Legacy Heroes Unboxed, where I play a couple of characters. And that was really fun because I, love Lego, grew up with Legos, and the video games as well. So just to like be in one was really cool. And to play some really cool characters, actually. They're Ninjago characters, Lloyd and Zane, and Crown King Brutus, I think, was the other one. And he's just very funny, and, that was just a blast. So, yeah.
So the last three I'm going to ask you, then I got to go to another subject, is Disney, Funimation, and Netflix. What was it like working with Netflix?
So Netflix was great. That one of the ones is Secret Magic Control Agency, which is a retelling of Hansel and Gretel. And that was such a blast. I play Hansel in that film, and it was just so fun, and the animation is gorgeous, so that was a real blast. And then so it's funny, with Disney, that's actually Pokemon, because Pokemon for Sun and Moon was on Disney, and then moved to Netflix as well. So, you know, and I've been on Journeys and Sun and Moon, so I got to do both, which was great and a lot of fun. And what was the third one?
Funimation.
Oh, Funimation is always just fantastic to work with, and you know, I love everything that they do. So yeah, getting to work with Colleen on My Hero Academia was just a dream. I love that show, and you know, working with Jade and a bunch of others, everyone is great. So yeah.
Well, maybe you could help me with something if you're interested. I came up with an idea, and you heard it first on the KeithAndrewNetwork. Well, second time anyway. But the point is, you heard it from me. So no one can take that from me. I came up with, wouldn't it be cool if Funimation did like a talk show? Because I interviewed, putting me on the spot, Elise Bowman, Chuck, I can't think of his last name, but he did the voice of, what made you do it like this is easier. I interviewed the voice of Pan, Android 17, Majin Buu, and Gohan. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if you do like an animated talk show where I'm the host and I can have side characters, and it'd be like, have different characters from different franchises come in and be interviewed and say, well, we always hear about real people and real problems. Why not talk about cartoon characters? You know, like you go back to Stan Lee when he pitched the idea about Spider-Man. It's like teenagers can't be heroes, they can be sidekicks. And also superheroes don't have problems. But Stan Lee was a perfect example of saying, why not, if you come up with an idea, not all ideas are going to be great, but some of them you don't know if it's going to work out or not.
Mm-hmm. Totally. No, that's a really fun idea. I don't know, because I don't really know many like animators or anything, but that's a really cool idea. You know, it's very fun. Yeah, I would say keep going with that for sure.
Absolutely. So the next one I want to ask you is about disabilities. Besides me, obviously, have you worked with people with disabilities? And for someone with learning disabilities who want to follow in your footsteps of getting into the entertainment world as a voiceover actor, what would your words of wisdom be, and what were the steps?
I'm trying to think. I'm sure I have. What is interesting is that I've definitely been in shows with and on projects with people with disabilities, but I don't know if I've been directed by them as of yet. But what I will say is that the best way to get into voiceover is to take classes, work with a coach, and then eventually make a demo, you know, and, you know, get in front of casting directors. And, you know, that's kind of what I would say. But classes is definitely the first step, because even if you are an actor, it is different. It is a different medium. So there are certain things that you do need to know and finesse and work on in order to be good at voiceover. It's a lot of hard work. So yeah, I would say definitely take classes. There's a really good website that D. Bradley Baker has. I believe it's called, hold on, let me just check. So you want to... Okay, so it's called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. And it's really great, and it gives you like all of these, you know, tips and the steps to kind of do it. And there are even a bunch of like frequently asked questions that he really, really eloquently answers. So I would recommend that website to anybody, and to take classes, you know, because you can never go wrong with taking classes. Yeah, we always need to learn, and we are always learning until the day we die.
No, absolutely. And that's why you're being retired. You know, you're not yeah, it sounds nice. Hey, what do you do? You're retired. But until you're like 6 feet under, there's absolutely no reason why you can't do what you will enjoy doing.
Correct. 100%.
So do you ever... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was done. I was just agreeing. That's all.
Let me ask you about this, because I was actually thinking about this, yesterday. You look at the professional wrestling. You look at someone like The Miz, who came from MTV, and he's a household name now. But the reason I bring up professional wrestling is you can go, and I drag my brother to Comic-Con, so I don't want to go by myself because it's no fun. Also, if you talk to yourself, people think you have problems. Anyway, I don't do that.
Oh,
but
I do myself, but that's just voice actor.
I answer myself sometimes when I think of something, but that's a different subject. But the reason I bring up professional wrestling is you see these wrestlers, Bret the Hitman Hart, Hulk Hogan, and they feel real. You can shake their hands and you're present. And then you look at the Marvel universe, you look at the DC universe, Batman, Superman, if they actually look like the person they're portraying, Robert Downey Jr., who will always be Iron Man, it feels not nostalgia, but real. But if you look at animation and you want to bring some anime from what you would say fantasy world into reality, it doesn't really transition over to the different mediums or media, unlike wrestling and superheroes. And I'd like to get your opinion on that.
I think it's very interesting that you bring that up. So I think anime is very stylized, and I think I think that I would have loved to see the Cowboy Bebop show continue, honestly, because I think, they made their business decision. That's totally fine. I just would have loved to see what they would have done to finish the story. I do think it's interesting that they chose a bit of stylization, and actually really loved. I don't know if you saw that the sort of unused footage that they made, that little short before they released the actual show, but it was really cool and it was really stylized and kind of felt like you were watching a live action anime. In terms of the action that they used, and it was very comic booky, which was really cool. So I think it requires a certain level of stylization, unless it's something that's more slice of life. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would know how to do it as of yet. I think it would take certain things maybe shouldn't be adapted, but I think preserving a level of authenticity would be important. I think they're making the live action Yu Yu Hakusho. I think for the most part they should cast appropriately. They shouldn't cast someone who isn't Japanese or Asian American in a role that they shouldn't cast a white person, is what I'm trying to say. They should cast appropriately, and not try to recenter it around American culture necessarily. Maybe there could be a bit of an American sensibility because it's an American company, but not oftentimes what I have heard from critics that talk about anime adaptations is that they get centered around this struggle of good versus evil, when things are a little bit more complicated than that, and that just because that isn't a very American sensibility, and I think they would do well to explore more of the shades of gray if they are to bring something to live action, because also the best works of fiction, TV movies, are shades of gray. It's not just oh, he's good and he's bad. They're I think that would be what I would recommend in my limited knowledge.
No, you're right, but I also meant when you go meet them in person. I mean, you can always get a robot and dress them up and make them look like the character, or a Mac wax model. But it's not to sound like an asshole or anything, but you're always going to find beautiful women wherever you go. And I said this to I think one of the Dragon Ball casts. Casting for the Dragon Ball for a beautiful woman, that's the easy part. The hard part is finding someone who looks like Goku, finding someone who looks like Vegeta. And it's like, okay, looks are one thing, but you need personality, you need character. For an example, you look at Hugh Jackman, Tommy Maguire, Christopher Reeve. Right off the bat, as soon as you see them, the name pops in your head. But because, another example I was going to tell you, I actually, for my first interview, go back 8 years ago, just telling you how long it is. 13 years ago, in 2013, we were actually talking about a Mulan movie, and they wanted Scarlett Johansson. And like, first off, she's not Asian. And if I think that's not a thing, Scarlett Manhattan, Scarlett, whatever. And she's like, she's a household name. And like, yeah, but you're only using her name because she will sell movies. But what does she have to do with live action, Mulan?
Yeah, well, I think that they should. I mean, they did, but they obviously that needs to be cast appropriately, and it shouldn't just be that, the name, they just cast a name just to make money, because that's not necessarily good storytelling, and that is something that specifically happens in voiceover, that there's a lot of stunt casting, especially for animated films, that they'll cast, a movie actor who sometimes they don't even have any voiceover experience, but it's just like a name, and kids don't really know the difference. Most animated films, are targeted at kids, but they're not going to know who, like, this is just a name that's like, they won't know who
Rob Axel.
Yeah, or like, they don't know who Tom Holland is. You know what I mean? Like, he's great, but like, they don't know who that is. They're not going to be like, oh, I want to see, The Secret Life of Pets because of Tom Holland. Like, he's not in it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, they don't care. They just want to see, like, fun animals doing crazy things. So I find that trend interesting. But that's kind of like a whole other can of worms, but yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's something that definitely needs to be examined. I also think casting appropriately in terms of, race and gender is a thing. So, yeah.
Agreed. Now I'm going to ask you one more easy question, and I'm going to pass it over to you, so it's more interactive. That's one other thing about my show. It isn't one-sided. You ask me, I ask you, connect and make a friend out of it. That's the whole message of it. But what I want to ask you is, who influenced you to become a professional actor? For me, I grew up watching, Mean Gene Oakland, Bobby the Brain Heenan. But cartoon-wise, if you say, and I interviewed, the reason I said Rob Axel is I had him on the show. Wasn't video, but we had a phone interview. Really nice guy. Even though there was times where I felt like I was twisting his arm to make him talk, he will always be known as Lord Zed. And if anyone out there sees Power Rangers, like, oh yeah, they brought him back. But just because you bring back a character doesn't mean it's going to transition well with the voice. There's, like 10 different people who did the Batman voice besides Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy will always be Batman. Goku will always be Chan Shemo. Chris Sabath will always be Vegeta. Peter Collins will always be Optimus Prime. Totally. And like this new movie coming out, I don't know if you got to see it, but it's really funny. It's a superhero movie about pets. Well, Superman's dog.
Oh, Super Pets. Yes. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yes. Yeah.
In The Rock is Superman's dog, and I think that's really funny. Mm-hmm. But it's certain names and voices what you think of will always make the character better. Now, I'm saying if they ever retire or step away, whoever felt, I give you an example. If you were Pikachu and an actor stepped down and they ever said to you, I want you to do this role, people, not saying they have a higher expectation of that person, they just want to hold them to a higher standard of saying, okay, let's get them on board, if that makes any sense. Passing it over to you.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think there's always a higher expectation when there's someone with history with the role. You know, like there's whenever, because I think, you know, Robert Downey Jr. isn't playing Iron Man anymore, so they have people, the sound-alikes, people that, you know, are basically, you know, copying what he was doing. And I think there's always, you know, whenever there is sound alike or a voice match, you know, which is generally what we call in the industry, you know, people can be very specific with, you know, voice matches and comparing it to the original and what have you. So definitely agree with what you're saying there.
Now, the last question I want to ask you is, actually I have to look at the script. How can our listeners get in touch with you? And what is coming up next for you? What's on the horizon? Passing it over to you.
So you can find me on Twitter at Nick Justin Corda, and that's N-I-C, not N-I-C-K for some reason, even though people can call me N-I-C-K. But I'm also on Instagram at Nick Corda with a K. So that's N-I-C-K-C-O-R-D-A. Or at my website, you know, you can always write me a message or something, which is just nicholascorda.com. And what's next for me? I'm working on a really cool, because I'm also a dub script adapter, I'm working on a really cool show right now. I am in a couple fun shows, some things that are coming out, a really awesome video game. Yeah, I mean, I can't really say anything because of NDAs, but just some really cool stuff. So yeah. So how did you get started with this talk show?
Well, make a long story short, is my brother had his own radio show in college, and I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. So when I was in high school, I had my own radio station. Each classroom had like a television. And I said, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we can actually use the TVs? Because they used to, after 9/11 and after that, right? Oh, TVs are off, they're only for videos, no one can watch anything. So I was thinking, okay, how about, I hate the expression, kill two birds with one stone, make a class. It's for people who want to get into the business, not entertainment world, just get experience of creating a show. Long story short, I invented the high school TV station of the morning show. I wasn't a part of it, so I had my own. So I do take credit for that. But I had my own radio station, the Keith Andrew Hour, Keith Andrew Power Hour. Then I was working in retail. I got sick out of my own stupidity, and I was thinking, you know what? I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to do something that makes me happy. And I just said, you know what? People say I learn at a 5th grade level. I'm on the spectrum of being retarded because I read and learn at a middle school, high school level. I'm not classified. I'm not qualified. I said, you know what? I'm going to show you with a disability, I can still amount to something. And from 2013, if you really want to get me fired up, I did 372 interviews.
That's awesome.
But I made a lot of mistakes, you know, but we can talk about that off the air. So I took everything down. I redid it. So thanks to you, it's 8.5 years. We're officially over 900. I'm officially going to write my book once I reach 1,000. So pretty much I taught myself point A to point B, saying if you wanted to do something right, no one's going to help you. It would be nice if someone says, hey, here's a playbook, this is what you have to do. Or in my case, if someone sits down and teaches you, I taught myself everything. But it's about breaking the status quo of saying labels don't dictate who you are, who you want to be. Make a long story short.
100%. That's really great, and that's really inspiring. Like, good for you.
But I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But the first one, I want to say to our fans and listeners, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that notification, hit that bell icon, leave comments. Me and the guests would love to interact with you guys. If you're on Facebook, same exact thing. This video will be played on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and all social medias. And until we meet again, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2. And I just want to say thank you for your time, and I'll catch you later. Thank you, and have a good night.